Hello students, nice day. In this video, I like to clear a poem, an elementary school classroom in Slum. एलिमेंट्री बेसिक होता है, बेसिक स्कूल है, उसकी कक्षा है इस्लाम झुग्गी झोपड़ी गंदी बस्ती जो भी समझ सकते हैं. The writer of this poem is Stephen Spender. He describes the communal inequalities which are usual in this society. In this poem, the author describes the situation of the students of an elementary school. The school is located in slum area. The poet wants everybody's attention to these children. Poet wanted that the life of these students improves. He wanted them to get trained in order to become good citizens of our country and not criminals. जो कवि का उद्देश्य है वो ये है कि ये बच्चे जो स्लम एरिया में गंदी बस्ती पर हैं ये पढ़ लिख कर आगे बढ़ें और हमारे देश के विकास में योगदान कर सकें. he become good citizens of our country and not criminals. और वो अच्छे नागरिक बने, क्रिमिनल्स ना बने. An elementary school classroom in slum summary gives a brief knowledge about the condition of the school as well as the students. अगर बच्चे को प्रॉपर एजुकेशन नहीं दी जाएगी, निश्चित तौर पे चोरी चकारी करेगा और समाज के लिए कैंसर बनेगा. और गवर्नमेंट को चाहिए कि ऐसे कैंसर से बच्चों को बचाने का पूरा प्रयास करे. द अपीयरेंस ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स शोज दैट दे आर अनवेलकम. द किड्स आर हैविंग डिप्रेस्ड फेशियल एक्सप्रेशंस. दे हैव अनहेल्दी बॉडीज inherited from their parents. At the end of the classroom, a kid is sitting having bright eyes that fills with dreams. The classroom has dirty and muddy walls. Many people have given multiply charts and images for putting on the walls. A poster is there of Shakespeare. His head is bald and looks like the rising sun. भाई ये छोटा बच्चा है, स्लम एरिया में बस्ती में रहने वाला बच्चा है, तो वह विलियम शेक्सपियर को नहीं जानता है. ही डज नॉट नो हाउ ग्रेट ही वॉज या ही इज. तो वह सीधा सा कहता है कि शेक्सपियर का जो सर है वो उगते हुए सूरज की तरह है, बिकॉज उसमें बाल तो है नहीं सर में. ए पोस्टर यस. द सेकंड पोस्टर इज द ट्रेलोस वैली. फर्दर another one is world map. For these students, the world is not as they see in picture. For these students, the world is seen that they see outside of the classroom through the window. These children are stuck in the slums. They have dim and hopeless future. They all have a dark and depressing future. Moreover, they have options in life that are imperfect and are disappointing. They are distant from the light of knowledge. ज्ञान के प्रकार से वंचित किसी भी छात्र को नहीं रहना चाहिए. Understanding the picture is out of their abilities. Further, these kids hate everybody, and for them Shakespeare was a good person. As nobody loves them, even they disliked everybody. The want for love forces them to do crimes like robbery, etc. The children are so thin that their bones and skeleton are clearly visible through them. This is because of the lack of the nourishment. The glasses that are made of steel and are cheap. The glasses they are quite heavy and uncomfortable at the same time. Their probabilities of accomplishing their dreams and wants and moving out of their poverty have been further reduced by building bigger until and unless they don't come out of the slums, they will never get to know about the world outside. First of all, we have to provide them the good atmosphere, and after this they can get a good education. The government system that creates these slums areas is a major causes that people live there. The students are not having the right to dream out of these slums. The government limits and restricts them to these slums. The poet also appeals to the authorities for permitting these poor kids to go out of these slums. The students need to see the other world. Moreover, the maps on the walls of the class will surely become a reality for them. Moreover, they should be taken area with fields and greenery. The sunny atmosphere and the warm sand of the beach will connect them with a hunger for knowledge. If we are hungry for knowledge, we can learn many things. We can learn many things. If these children will get a learn to learn these, the children will become economically authorized. If education is the only single thing, शिक्षा ही वह चीज़ है जो हमको गरीबी से दैट कैन रिमूव आवर पॉवर्टी, शिक्षा ही वह चीज़ हमारी गरीबी को समाप्त कर सकती है. The poem An Elementary School Classroom in Slum, written by Stephen Fender, throws light on the dark reality of poor students. Using ample of symbols and images, the poet describes the worst condition of poor students and their faded future. The poem has been divided into 4 stanzas, having 8 stanzas each. We will discuss the poem word by word and also understand the deeper meaning of symbols used by the poet. Now the first stanza. Far from gusty waves these children faces, like rootless weeds, the hair tarred round their pallor. The tall girl with her weighed down head, the paper seeming by with red's eyes, the stern unlucky hair of twisted bones, reciting father's knowledge disease, his lessons from his desk, at the back of the dim clothes, one unnoted, sweet and young. His eyes live in dream of squirrel's game, in tree room other than this. In these lines, the poet says that far, far away from the gusty babes, he finds the faces of poor children. Gusty babes, strong babes, refer to the cities where rich and influential people live. The phrase far, far means that these children live in the village which have no connection with the city life. In addition, they are too poor to live in the cities. बच्चे इतने गरीब हैं कि शहरों पर जाकर रह ही नहीं सकते हैं. हम जब शहरों पर जाने का सपना नहीं दे सकते तो हम वहाँ की बात को समझ कैसे सकते हैं. In the next line, the poet describes the condition of those poor children. According to him, they are like rootless weeds. That is, pale and dry like unrooted weeds and grass. The phrase unrooted weeds also signify how society perceives those poor children. They are considered as weeds, useless. Their hair are torn, split round their pallor, unhealthy face. अगर आप बच्चे को भोजन नरिशमेंट नहीं दे पा रहे हैं, हाइजेनिक एरिया वातावरण उसको दे पा रहे हैं, अशुद्ध है, कुपोषण का शिकार है, तो बच्चा अच्छी शिक्षा प्राप्त नहीं करेगा. There is a tall girl whose body is so weak because of lack of unhealthy food that it seems to be incapable of holding her head. This is why the poet says weighted down head. There is another boy who is as thin as paper. As thin as paper. His eyes looks like those of rat, probably because of starvation. उसकी आंखें चूहे की तरह प्रतीत होती हैं, भूख से पीड़ित है. चूहे की आंखें हमेशा कुछ न कुछ ढूंढती रहती हैं. और नेक्स्ट द पोएट डिस्क्राइब्स another boy in the class. According to poet, there is stunned, short-heighted. वह stunned, छोटा, short-heighted है, boy with twisted bones, whom the poet calls unlucky hair. Unlucky hair, son. He seems to have bone disorder inherited from his poor father. He is sitting on his desk and reciting his lesson. The poet throws light on his condition to show why these poor students cannot read or don't have a bright future. हम फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वी हैव टू मेंटेन एटमॉस्फियर. यदि हम किसी बच्चे को वातावरण दे रहे हैं, निश्चित तौर पर वह बच्चा विकास करेगा. There is another sweet and young boy sitting at the back of the dim class who is unnoted. The poet calls the class dim, which has two meanings. First, that there is no light at the back, and second, it refers to the darkness of the poverty which prevails over the boy as his mind is in the in the class, or what is happening in the class. He is dreaming about a squirrel's game which he saw in a tree room. Again, here the poet is explaining the kids of atmosphere the poor students have. They do not have any interest in the studies because they cannot read or understand, so their mind remains occupied with other things. यदि कोई बच्चा किसी भी क्लास में रुचि नहीं लेता है, तो इसका मतलब है या तो कहीं ना कहीं टीचर की फॉल्ट है, या बच्चे को उतनी ज़्यादा पौष्टिकता, मेंटल नरिशमेंट नहीं मिल पा रहा है, इसलिए बच्चा दूसरी तरफ डाइवर्ट हो रहा है. हम कहते हैं बच्चा पढ़ नहीं रहा है, और निश्चित तौर पे बच्चे को यदि परफेक्ट नरिशमेंट मिलेगा पढ़ाई के प्रति, तो निश्चित तौर बालक पढ़ेगा. On sour cream walls, donations Shakespeare's head, cloudless, this is second stanza, cloudless at dawn civilized dome riding, all cities, ballad flowery, Trello's pally, open-handed map, a wandering the words its word, and yet for these children, these windows, not this map, this word, where all their futures painted with a fog, a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far from rivers and stars of the birds. In this stanza, the poet compares the condition poor living in slum and rich living in cities. According to the poet, is the sour cream walls of a school which is in poor locality, having the inscription of donations and photos of Shakespeare's head. This line contains symbol having deep meaning. Sour symbolize bad smell, and cream refers to gloomy. Donations refer to the fact that these children are on the mercy of rich people, and Shakespeare's head symbolize though study which these poor students cannot understand. Though Shakespeare's works are meant to be enjoyed, they are beyond the understanding of poor students. There is a picture of civilized home riding all cities. In the other words, an ideal place where rich and so-called civilized people live. The word civilized has been purposely added to the sentence. It indirectly suggests that poor are uncivilized and should not be considered to be humans. Rather, they are undesired species which should not live in cities. Then there is the picture of Tyler's Valley, a beautiful valley which is ballad, prosperous and flowery heavens like, but this valley is inaccessible to the poor children. There is also open hand map which introduces a word to the poor children. However, this word is different from the word of the poor. For them, their word is not what they see in the map, but what they see outside the windows, that is slum, dirty places, huts and dirt. It is the word where all their future is painted with fog. Fog refers to lack of light, of beauty, that is hopelessness, not that painting of Trello's Valley, and the future painted with fog, hopelessness. So the differences between rich and poor, and there is represent respective futures. In the next line, the poet describes the places where poor live. According to him, the children live in narrow street which is sealed with a lead sky. It is far away from rivers, caves, cities near sea, and stores which all are shows under the words of book. Now, lead is a heavy metal. Sealed with lead sky means that the future of children is locked by the seal of lead poverty. They cannot go beyond their present condition. So the all those things mentioned in books are unachievable. अर्थात कह सकते हैं कि जिसके बारे में हम सोच नहीं सकते, जहां हम जा नहीं सकते हैं, वहां कल्पना करना फिर उनके बस की बात नहीं है. Surely Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example, with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal for lives and slowly turns in their cramped holes for fog to endless night. On their slag hap these children bear skins paved through by bones and spectacles of steel with mended glass like bottle bits and on stones. All their time and spaces or foggy slum so blot their maps with slums as big as tomb. The first stanza described the condition of poor children. The second stanza described their hopelessness word. The third stanza is about the bad effect of sweet dream and imaginations given by books and picture maps and pictures to the poor children who rebel against the civilized society by indulging the crime. According to the poet, it is evident that Shakespeare is wicked, bad, wrong, whatever you can say, and the map which was in their class wall with ships, sun, and love. Something with poor don't not have a bad example for poor students, showing these beautiful things are do these those living in cramped holes, congested huts tempt them to dream and thus indulge in crimes like stealing. Hence, they go from fog, hopeless life to endless night, life of criminals. This is why the poet says that study and these things and the things which are shown to students are morally wrong because they that what they see in unachievable and yet they try to get it by wrong ways. This is a bold statement by the poet and something we have never seen or heard saying so. The children are so poor and they appear to bear skins peeped through by attached bones are their slag heaps, that is bodies which look like a heap of waste. They are wearing spectacles of steel with mended glasses, broken glasses you can see here, which look like bottles, bits, small pieces of glasses, bottles and stones. This condition of poor children signify that they need food and they need food not education. एक भूखा व्यक्ति शिक्षा प्राप्त नहीं कर सकता है, पहले इस भूखे व्यक्ति को भोजन चाहिए, बाद में फिर दुनियादारी शिक्षा की बात करेगा. Without proper food and nutrition, they are attacked by all types of disease. This is why poet considers education unless or useless for them. He believes that they need to be provided food, shelter, and medical facilities first of all. Next, the poet says that all of their time and space are foggy slums, that is without hope and gloomy. This is why the poet asked the book publishers and education authority to blot their maps which hang on wall in their schools. With slums make a map of slums which are as big as dome. These slums areas are huge because of poverty. The last two lines shows poet's anger and rage on seeing the worst condition of poor students' children. He knows that their conditions, according to these do not get better. So instead of showing them big dreams, which they cannot achieve. They should be told about their word, that is slums, not that the poet uses plot instead of paint, which here, which again is a depiction of harsh condition of slums. Now we have to see fourth stanza of this poem. Use, unless government inspector visitor, this map becomes their windows, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs break open till they break the town and show the children to green field and make their word run azure on gold sands and let their tongues run naked into look into books in the white and green leaves open history there whose language is in the sun. The final stanza depicts the dream of the poet. According to the poet, unless a government inspector or visitor come the condition of students remain in the same. The windows to outside world remain closed and they are confined in their slums like catacombs, cemetery, कब्र कह सकते हो आप, ग्रेव कह सकते हो, उन्हीं की तरह हैं. They remain in their slums as dead in live in cemetery. Both have no way to escape. The only way to the outside world is a map which is hanging on the walls on their schools, that they see the outside and unachievable world in the maps. That maps no one pay attention to these slums. This makes them and neglected ones. In the next line, the poet asks the authorities to break this barrier and provides cover their basic dates, or else they will break the town, that is revolt against the current repressive and cruel system. His father, he further asked that the authorities to show them green field which they have seen in the books and make them in their world run azure blue sky on gold sands. Green fields symbolize hope and blue skies symbolize free. Golden sands refers to the deserted life of children. Combining all these symbols, we get the idea of that poet asks authorities to give hope and freedom to these hopeless children. Finally, the poet urges the richest and authorities people to let their tongues run naked. Let them be free into books which they read in white, that their school with white walls. This way they will be able to reach green leaves and they will be able to write their own history whose language is the sun. Sun here represents patience, fire, and enthusiasm which these children have. They only lack money and freedom. If their fundamental needs are fulfilled, their passions will be enough for them to change their condition and write their own history. So the poem began in hopelessness, despair continued with anger, and finally ended in hope. That's all for this period. I have explained, I have solved this poem, second poem of the foreign intermediate classes. Please try to understand, and if you like my video, please like and share. That's all for this period.